Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm Crystal Leandra. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for over 10 years, and I do goth makeup on TikTok. You may also know me from my infamous paranormal ghost girl podcast called The Ghost Girl Diaries. You can find all my links below. This has been a long requested video from you guys on TikTok, and I just couldn't figure out how I was going to fit all of this content in one little 1 to 2 minute video. So here we are. Today is going to be a Goth 101 video where I talk about cool contours. Now obviously you don't have to be a goth to wear a cool contour, but I think I have everyone under the sun, and I want to share those swatches with you guys along with my top favorites. I'll also be sharing the prices and sort of pros and cons of each product, which is why I needed to make this into a longer format YouTube video. So let's get started. Now, if you guys have a product that I don't have here and you recommend it to the goth community, alt community, please leave it down below, right? I love recommendations. So I'm going to start with a powder contour first because I love cream contour and powder contour. You can tell that this palette from Makeup Revolution is very loved. It is the Ultra Powder Contour palette, and it's from Ulta, and I believe it's only about $10. As you can see, this shade is very loved. It's probably the coolest contour shade that I can find. I will buy this entire palette for one shade, but I also do love this bright highlighter as well. I don't think people understand the difference between contour versus bronzer, and I'm gonna be honest, as a pale goth, I don't wear bronzer. I don't want to look warm toned, I want to look cool toned. I wear very cool toned, gray toned makeup. I use the foundation from Juvia's Place in the shade Bali, which is very pale, and then I mix in Pro Color mixing pigments from LA Girl in blue and white, and that gives me that very cool undertone that I'm looking for. Find a gray contour, whether in a cream version or a powder, it is very hard. And I'm gonna be honest, I wish this was grayer, right? And I have a few more options that I'm gonna share with you guys, but this is most pigmented. So I'm just light-handed when I use it, especially for my nose contour. Now the next best one that I can find that's gray toned is LA Girl Just Blush It. Now this is an actual taupe sort of blush, okay? And it's in the shade Just Because. This was about $4 or $5 on Amazon. You can always check my Amazon store. I have most everything always on my Amazon store for you guys, so it's really easy to access and find. This is a real taupey sort of shade, and it's very, very, very gray tone. So I will swatch this one next to the Makeup Revolution palette. So as you can see, this is very gray toned, which is really what we're looking for, right? Now, oddly, this is a blush. It's not a contour. So you have to be comfortable with using a contour, but for $5, that's a really good amount of product for this in LA Girl. To swatch the Makeup Revolution next to it, you can definitely see that the Makeup Revolution is a little bit warmer. But for my top two powder contours, these are my go-to for cool powder contour. Now, LA Girl does have this Shape It Up Sculpt and Contour palette. Now, this is a very taupey sort of shade. I'll use a clean finger. But I'm going to be honest, I think that this has a lot of talc powder in it. And when it actually goes on the skin, it really doesn't get much pigment at all, as you can see where I put it. So I would stick, I think the grayest tone you can find is probably this LA Girl Just Because. Now there are a few other ones that I'm planning on purchasing on Amazon. I just haven't gotten around to it. And the reason I haven't rushed is because they are off brands. So this is really me trying to give you easily accessible, well-known brands that you guys can access. One of my favorite blushes is this taupe blush from NYX, and it's called So Taupe. I'm going to tell you the truth, they have been out of it online and at Ulta for months. It's a very popular blush. It's Sweet Cheeks. Now this one is the Shimmer, okay? So I am going to swatch this right here if you guys see. Look how gray toned it is. Now a lot of goths in the community say that So Taupe NYX matte formula is a perfect contour, and I believe it. However, it's been out of stock for months. So if you happen to get your hands on either one of these, I would say that the matte formula would be perfect for contouring. Once I get my hands on it, I'll let you know. And this shimmer is my everyday blush. Okay, so the first one I'm going to swatch for you guys is the e.l.f. Putty Blush in the shade Honey Drip. Okay, so of course when we hear the term honey, we're definitely going to think that it's warm toned, and it is a little bit warm toned. But if this works for you, hey, it's $5, right? And just because it's a putty blush doesn't mean that you can't use it as a contour. You can still use it as a contour. The next one I'm going to show you guys is the Luminous Putty Bronzer by e.l.f. And this is in the shade, what shade is this? Vacay mode or mood. Mood, I'm not sure. Now this one's definitely grayer toned, but I'm going to swatch it for you guys. I'm going to tell you sort of my opinion on it. Now this is luminous, which means it does have a little bit of a sheen on it. So I don't know if mine's the only formula that does this. It is $5. I do think that in order for it to really show up, you need to build it up a couple of layers, which is why it's not on my top faves. But if this is something you have easy access to and you're on a budget, this is perfect. I also find it to be a little bit chunky in the jar. I don't understand why, but it's definitely much more gray toned, as you can tell from the other one that's been swatched. The next one that we're going to swatch is new, and I actually haven't swatched this on myself, but a friend owns it. This is Honey. It's the Cream Contour by Milani. It's $10 for the stick, and it is considered a cooler tone shade. But as you can see, especially next to that e.l.f. one, there is still some warmth in there. But once again, if you have access to this and you like the formula, I haven't really used this formula enough to comment on it. But personally, for me, that's still too warm. I really like a gray, grungy sort of, look to my contour with my pale goth makeup. Now, this one was highly recommended from the goth community. This is the shade Toast. It is a Pro Concealer LA Girl. I haven't worked with this specific shade, although I do like the concealer consistency. But the goth community loves this as a cool toned contour. To me, this is still warm, if I'm being honest. But it's only $5 on Amazon. You cannot find this shade anywhere else. It's the shade Toast. You have to find it on Amazon. So that's Toast. It's definitely cooler, deeper, but I still don't think it's as gray as that e.l.f. swatch. Once again, if you have access to this and it's something you prefer, I just want to give you guys the options. Now, the next one for my least favorite is a very expensive contour. This is the new Milk Makeup Contour Stick, and this is the Sculpt Stick in the shade Toasted, okay? Now, let's swatch this so you can kind of get the shades down. Mine came in very melty. I actually might return this. I think this little tiny stick of product was like $26, so it's bougie for a little tiny amount. But I'm gonna go ahead and, allegedly it's supposed to be cool toned. It is cool toned, but I have some opinions on this one. I have gotten to experiment with this, okay? I find this formula to be quite heavy on the skin. So when you're wearing this contour, it feels heavy. The smell is wretched to me. I don't know what it is, but it smells like stinky wet clay mixed with like ocean sand is the only way I can describe it. And for that reason, I don't like it. I also have very oily skin, and the consistency of this product feels very greasy, even on the skin. It does blend out well. It didn't rip the makeup off, but I just think that for $25, $26, there's some better options. However, it is definitely cool toned, and if this works for you, great. I just want to give you that option. I have 5 top favorites for cool contour. Number 5 is the She Glam Contour Stick in the shade Soft Tan. It is very gray toned. I do like the formula. I like the consistency. It blends well. It's only like $4 or $5, and that is very, very gray toned. I only have a couple of problems with this. It's very light wear, which means you're gonna need a couple of layers for it to really show up. The other thing that I don't quite love about it is it really should match a lighter foundation. And I'm a full coverage girl, so this should go with like a light to medium coverage where I'm full coverage. So I need something with a much heavier consistency. The other cool thing is it does come with a brush on the end, but I haven't used that. But for $4 or $5 as an option, this is great. Coming in at number 4 is the She Glam Liquid Contour. And by the way, if you tip this upside down, it will leak out. This is also the same shade of soft tan, and it also goes for $4 or $5. I'm just gonna dot this and then blend it so you guys can see. Now I definitely prefer the liquid contour out of the two of them, which is why this is my number 4 spot. It doesn't rip your makeup off. It's really great consistency, as you can see how I'm blending it here. And it's definitely gray toned. I honestly think that the liquid is more gray toned than the stick, but it's really up to you on what you prefer. But for $4 or $5, these are a great option to have if you're on a budget. Coming in at my top third, which is probably a fan favorite for the entire goth community. This was highly requested back in the day from everybody for me to use. This is the NYX Wonder Stick, and it's in the shade Fair. It is very gray toned. It's almost like a paste. I can't really describe how it is. I love how this blends, which is why, and it's not quite as gray, but I just think it blends great with any foundation. I think what else I love about this is, like, if you're ordering the She Glam, you know, it's going to take time for it to be shipped to you, where this, you can find at CVS, you can find it at Walmart, you can find it anywhere, Ulta, $12, and the stick really does last for a long time. It also comes with a highlight. I don't really use the highlight, but if you'd like to see this shade, I'll swatch it for you. So that is why it comes in at number 3 for me. It's just easily accessible, and I love the price point, and it's a really good amount of product. It will last you for a while. Coming in at number 2 for my second favorite contour, it is Fenty in the shade Amber. This is really all I wear most of the time. It is bougie. I think it's like $24, $28, depending on how and where you buy it. It's very gray, it's very creamy, it's very long lasting. Yes, it's quite, you know, up there in price point, but it will last you forever. And look how gray it is. I mean, that's what you want in a contour stick. It also comes in a cream palette, which I'd like to try for you guys to just compare the consistency from the palette to the actual stick. But this is a top favorite for sure. And I have the bougiest of bougie gray contours, which is quite expensive. Last time I checked, this little guy was $32 for like a half an ounce of product, or 1.3 ounces of product. So it's a very tiny amount of product. However, it is a bougie line. So if you're planning on buying this, you know what you're getting into. This is kind of like the goth bougie makeup line. This is a company called Ritual de Filet, and I will tag them below so that you can access it. If I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sorry. This is in the shade Intuition. It's a inner glow cream pigment, so you can use it as an eyeshadow, but this is my special occasion contour, and it's my number 1 because it is the grayest of grays. And I mean, it's meant to be the grayest contour on the market because it's a goth alt company. They get us, right? And gray contours are so hard to find. So I'm actually going to swatch this along my knuckles just so you can see it with my white hands how gray it actually is. And like, the formula is beautiful. It blends like a dream. It's a gorgeous color. It's the grayest contour I think that you can find on the market. But once again, you're talking about a $32. Look how gray that is. Isn't that beautiful? So once again, we have options. She Glam is definitely gray toned, but you can definitely tell, right, with the pigments why companies charge differently. Like, She Glam's cheaper, but you can see down here, like, the product isn't as heavy. And even as we get into like Fenty and then Ritual, the product gets heavier. It's a denser product. It holds more pigment, and that's why they're going to charge more, right? And you can see that just with the swatches. But Ritual is beautiful. And if you're a goth, I feel like it's pricey, but it's a must-have. I would love to hear what your favorite contours are, especially if you have any in secrecy that we don't know about. Don't gatekeep, share them with the community. I'd love to try them for you guys. I will add this video to my new Goth 101 playlist, which I'm going to build here for longer form content for you guys. I'm also planning on doing more goth wedding makeup, emo wedding makeup, anything you guys want to see. Let's do some longer forms of it here. Any comments or requests that you guys have, please leave them below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel. Give me a thumbs up to support my content. And until next time.